All right, welcome back. It's Rock Forever, and we got some very special guests here. I look forward to introducing you to the co-founder, marketing genius, and media innovator, Chris Kurtz. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Jay.
And
Thanks,
we have your right-hand
taking the time.
man, Ryan. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Excited to be here. Thanks so much.
Well, Chris, give us a background, because I know, obviously, you and your wife, Amy, started this Media Twist Group, the ad agency back in 06. So we are clocking some years, but now it's morphed into the VTMC, the virtual talking record label. So give us an idea of why you started the ad agency and really what you specialized in. What were your innovations?
Sure. Thank you, Jay. And thanks for taking the time too. I'm honored to have this moment here and capturing lightning in a bottle, if you will. So, and Ryan's here. Basically, he's like the string to my balloon in these things to keep me on track because there's so many exciting things we're doing. So, going back, like you just took us back to the ad agency days. I was an executive producer at Feld Entertainment, the biggest entertainment company in the world. We owned properties like Disney on Ice, Barnum and Bailey Circus, Monster Jam, Supercross, Arena Cross, Marvel Universe Live, some of the top grossing entertainment properties. And I got really good at selling out arenas and stadiums around the world using marketing tools and having access to larger budgets and being able to use these sophisticated tools in the music industry and the entertainment industry to put butts in seats and sell out an arena in Abu Dhabi or Friends Arena in Stockholm, Sweden. So the ad agency really was one of the earliest to start using things like the pixel targeting and retargeting on social media and Facebook and Instagram and display, and using it really in a way where most companies were still using search engine marketing, SEM, or buying Google ads, if you will. And about 6 years ago, I heard from a Google scientist in Munich, Germany, that there was a shortage in the frequency of humans coming to Google searching for things. And when I heard that, I doubled down into my social media ad agency. And at the same time, I was living on the tour bus with Zoltan Bathory, the founder and guitarist for Five Finger Death Punch. One of the biggest in all of the metal genre for consumption right now across the globe, right? So I was able to use these marketing tools from the back of his tour bus. I lived on the bus. I was one of the only non-members of the band that lived on the member tour bus. And this was when Ivan was going through some of his sobriety issues. So I took his spot in his bunk, if you will, and we built Zoltan and I built a marketing agency in the back of the bus, if you will. And we were getting ticket reports from promoters throughout the tour that were sending us shows that hadn't sold out yet. And we were loading those areas into geofenced strategy that would allow us to drop ads in that area, basically. So we were selling out arenas that weren't sold out since Elvis. And the whole music industry was trying to figure out how we were doing it behind the scenes. So it was funny. I was from Zoltan Bathory. I was told to block the manager's number in my phone because he didn't want to share what we were doing. But long story short, that was then, and I was able to build a nice little platform in the music industry and use it also with Feld at the same time. So that was the ad agency. So thanks for starting on that. That's really the basis of where this all comes from. And then hats off to my wife for not divorcing me, for waking up one morning and saying, let's start a record label, but let's start one in the metaverse.
Wow, we're so excited. I know you're on the cutting edge of pushing it forward. And I always say, great music along with some innovative ideas is the future. There's so many talented people out there, but without the platforms or people to get them in front of people and, move the needle, a lot of them are, especially these days, they fall by the wayside. There's so many artists. The glut is just tremendous. So give us an idea of setting up the VTMC. What was the idea and what was the first step?
Sure. So, Virtual Talking Machine Company is really, and we are the first record label in the metaverse that has transactional sales. I've in my relationships dating back 30 years, starting with guys like Tom Consolo in the music industry, OG managers that built the music industry single-handedly with guys like Irving Azoff. I brought Tom Consolo here to our location at what's referred to as the backstage of the world, Rock Lidditz. And it's where some of the biggest and most amazing vendors reside. We have our flagship locations here for good reason. Every day we have multiple artists on campus that have come here to build their show, rehearse their show, program their show, and gain the knowledge from each of the vendors that they spend money with. So, for example, Yamaha has one of their major teaching locations here with Kevin Kimmel, one of their main systems admins throughout the entire company. That thing used to happen on a phone call to Japan, trying to teach, Aerosmith's sound man about the new Yamaha soundboard, if you will. So Rock Lidditz is really this amazing lightning in a bottle place where they all come to build their show. And we were able to show them the magic of geofencing and using social media marketing and content as king. And then, you have the content as king, queen as marketing cliche sayings. So from artists like Elton John to Sammy Hagar, I've been able to show some of this new tech that really is going to be, I think, what capturing the performance is going to be about in the next few years when the web really goes truly Web 3. So Virtual Talking Machine Company was something that my team had advised that I don't run this in the ad agency sense. This is stuff that's completely different. And it really was. I was walking up to, I was sitting with Wendy Dio on the West Coast one morning, and it really hit me. And then that night I was with Sammy Hagar at his birthday party in Catalina Island, and I walked up to him and said, "You're going to be dead soon." And I meant it, and I didn't mean to come off crazy. And today he'll tell you, when he first met me, he thought I was batshit crazy. But I truly mean it.
Which you are a little bit, but that's a good thing.
And thank you, Ryan. And Ryan can support the frequency of how many CEOs we sit with all week long in the marketing agency. And that's really my shtick, is where I take the cavemen and the way they've been marketing for 30 years, and I consolidate all of that, and I figure out the cavemen things that really you have no trackability or attribution on, and we help you with that. So guys like my relationship with Sammy started because Tom Consolo, I needed somebody to make as the board member of this new record label that was going to produce assets just in Web 3 in the metaverse. Like, people don't even know, like, what is the metaverse? It's this hot button of, so some people don't even realize what it is. My quick definition of the metaverse is when web goes 3. Right now, web is 2D. And so I can only touch a screen. I can scroll on a screen. I can see a video, but it's still only 2D video. I can't put my hand into the computer screen right now and look around. I can do that in Ocular, so that's kind of our first taste as humans in Web 3. But Web 3 is going to allow us to look around, and things won't be so linear. So the 3D capture, and it's already happening right now, Jay, under our nose, like on websites like Carvana. I'm already becoming a snobby car shopper because I can now spin the car 360, and I can get and my son, when he's on StockX or Nike.com, he's able to spin the shoe around and see all angles of it in 3D. That's Web 3. So there's little bits of it right here in front of us under our noses now. But when that entire experience goes completely immersive, the 2D audio, Sammy Hagar, David Cobb, Tom Consolo, that you've built your entire record label off of, that's capturing just merely the audio, is going to be, I think, it's gonna look like the the traditional vinyl record, the 8-track, if you will. So the Virtual Talking Machine Company is really the society that kind of like the ASCAP or the BMI, if you will, that is showing the first interest in wanting to capture and archive the volumetric performance. And when we capture that volumetric performance, we can manipulate it any way we want. And some of the first ways we do that is de-aging. One of the biggest trinkets you see right now from some of the same artists that we're using it in talks with, guys like Remington Scott at Hyperreal, that built the Paul McCartney version in his latest video that he was walking down the hallway as a 20-year-old version of Paul McCartney. We're going to do those same things in videos like Father Time. And I have a cut of the video that I if I can get up here to the right spot, I might be able to show for example purposes. But it's basically, imagine a shot going into Sammy Hagar's 74-year-old face, going into the pupil, and then when we come out, it's the de-aged version of Sammy. I can't really say much more on it, but the right here, this is I don't know if you could see my screen super well, but this is a good example of the video shoot. So we're able to take this version of the we're able to take this, that's the 74-year-old version of Sammy, and then we're going to de-age that and give the audience a look at a younger version of Sammy. That's one of the first ways we're using Web3 assets as kind of the kitschy way to sell it. We saw Robert De Niro do it in The Irishman, the movie The Irishman. Same artist, by the way, Remington Scott, who I have a huge respect for in the industry. He's kind of one of the first ones that carved the way for this digital human type of way of life. Now you see kids like Miles Fisher on Instagram running around with Tom Cruise's likeness and IP. And I really do believe that there's going to be a huge conversation, a copyright likeness IP conversation surrounded around these folks that are going to use these digital versions. But I just had a conversation this morning, Jay, with Sammy about staying on the couch from now on and letting the avatar version of you run around to all these stadiums and welcome in all these licensing and sync deals that we can now do with the 3D asset. So that's what the Virtual Talking Machine Company is. And we look forward to immortalizing. Just sat down with Elton John's folks a few weeks ago. As I mentioned, Wendy Dio, she's been a major player in the immortalizing of her late husband, Ronnie. She's, as far as you want to look at big spenders in the tech, Wendy's probably spent more than anybody at trying to immortalize this Avatar Web3 asset live in show. Done a pretty good job so far, but nobody's really nailed it. So Ryan can verify it. I say it in all my meetings all day long, Jay. It's an amazing time to be alive.
Yeah, well, I want to hear from both of you about the magical day in April where Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony and Jason Bonham and Vic Johnson come up to your compound there. And in one day, you're cutting 4 videos. Please tell us what was the idea going in and what are you most excited about coming out of that?
Yeah, Ryan, go ahead, start us off. And
So,
Ryan can give you a good admin look at how it was on campus, Go ahead.
Yep. So Chris is the ideas man for sure. So I basically take what his brain and try to turn it into an organized structure, which is super fun. I love it.
And then
that project. Go ahead.
Processed. Sorry to cut you off, Ryan. So quickly.
No, you're fine.
Mine gets processed by my wife before I even open my mouth to the world. All of that stuff goes through Amy Kurtz, as that's why she's one of the executive producers as well, because she's the string to my balloon. And then Ryan is the ultimate processor. So continue, Ryan. Sorry.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that, Captain. So the Sammy project has been something that Chris has been working on via Tom Consolo for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, Chris. It's been something he wanted to do for so long. It was amazing to watch it kind of happen. And I know it's still continuing. The relationship is growing, but basically the plan was, let's get Sammy here to rock Lidditz, backstage of the world. And then the catch is we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for the production of the videos. We're going to pay for your entire trip. We're going to take care of everything while you're here. We're going to take care of the editing. We're going to do this for you, Sammy. But while you're here, would you mind playing a quick private show for us? Of course. So that's the initial kind of, let's do this. And then to pull it off, I mean, Sammy and the Circle, those guys are amazing. It was like having family here. I was blown away with how great all of these people. They're just kind, personable, fun. I mean, carry on, Chris, with you can get into more of the details of working with music for everyone. And
Broken out.
nonprofit.
They, when you tell, you have to get there. You're looking at a legend, and the reason we start with the legends first, just to back it up a second, Jay, is because they're going to be gone off this earth first, right? The legends like Sammy, Ario Speedwagon, Pat Benatar, Willie Nelson. I'm sitting with all of these folks saying things like you're going to be dead soon, because it's true, just based on pure science, zero motion. You may be gone based on life expectancy sooner than an Ariana Grande or a Taylor Swift. So I'm starting at the top of the roof down, if you will, is based on age. And if you try to if you lead with the tech and try to explain to Sammy Hagar on an island in Catalina at his birthday bash that you're going to create an avatar of him, and you're going to create all these different NFT and blockchain versions of him, and if you lead with that, good luck. Even with a forward thinker like Sammy and an entrepreneurial mind. So I had to lead with, come here and we'll make your music videos for you. They're going to be the best music videos ever. Because of all the vendors we have here, like Aurora Films, Tate and Atomic, and all these folks that like just made the halftime show at the Super Bowl. We're going to make your videos, Sammy. And when I offered that, Tom Consolo said, can you make 4 of them, Chris? Because Tom knows about the ad agency that we own, and he knows how quickly we can create content and so forth. And looking back, I was batshit crazy. Like Sammy said, I think he was right, that I agreed to doing 4 videos in one day. And we pulled it off because I'm used to, with Feld Entertainment, used to rolling into a city, like San Diego or Sacramento or the Hollywood Bowl, and putting tons of dirt on your beloved Dodgers field, and putting on a monster jam in 4 days, cleaning it all up like never happened, and going home. So yeah, let's do 4 videos in one day. And we did it. We pulled it off. And you're seeing some of the fruits of that coming out right now on like YouTube right now. The first video that we did is Crazy Times. It's the title track of the album. All of that produced here, edited here, shot here. And the 4th video is going to be really where we dance with the NFT and the metaverse and the Web3 asset in Father Time.
Wow. Well, yeah, no, I can already see that it's the tip of the iceberg of what we're looking at in the 2D version of Crazy Times of, as the opportunities, expand, that you have these elements that you can just, take further than anyone ever has. So it's great that you found a great subject like Sammy and Tom Consolo, who, have the legendary status, but they're independent thinking. Yeah, they may have a deal with Universal to put out the music, but they're really like an indie band, an indie label. And, Sammy's still got that garage band mentality. He'll set up for the birthday show at Cabo, which I've been to many times. And, he'll does a lot of these private shows. So to him, it's just what he does, but it's exciting. And the first arena show I ever saw was Elton John, Yellow Brick Road, 1973, Dayton, Ohio, the big basketball arena. And as a teenager, music lover, having played guitar since I was 6 and all the way up, living in England, I walked into another world. I come through the concessions and through the tunnel, and it was literally life-changing. And I can only imagine that you can now do the same, with all these elements in the metaverse and things that we're only hearing about. So
Jay, I get chills hearing you say that moment of when you walk into the arena. Wow, thank you for sharing that. That's the moment that I call that suspended disbelief. As soon as you get to the concourse and you get your popcorn, your beer, whatever it is, and hopefully you have great line of proximity, because I believe that leads to the value of the show. That's why the ticket costs more in the front row versus the nosebleed. But that moment you lay eyes on the stage or the experience, or that moment house lights go dark and the production starts, whatever amount of suspended disbelief that can be captured in the fan and in their lobes, in their frontal lobes during the show, I think is the pure value and the recipe of the production. As a production manager or producer of a show, that's really what I'm looking to create in a show, is suspended disbelief. So like when the Roger Waters AR Pig, which by the way, that all of that show is built here at Rock Lidditz by the amazing teams at all of the vendors I mentioned, some of the vendors I mentioned earlier. But when the AR Pig looks at you, or you have the AR goggles on, and then the pig reacts to the kick drum, and then I watched the fan have that moment of, what am I seeing? That moment, or what am I in for? That is suspended disbelief. And I do believe that the avatars now, because they're 8K, and I can put them on a video wall that's palpable and 360 rounded, I do believe I can create just as good of a suspended disbelief as Madame Tussauds Wax Museum is. Why is that even a thing? Why? Because I can get this close to Queen Elizabeth without her security thumping me, on my head, right? I would never be able to get this close to Queen Elizabeth or Beyonce and so forth. So the places like that have built themselves off of that line of sight proximity. And you ask yourself this, Jay, in those concerts where you were front row at the Yellow Brick Road tour, which coincidentally the farewell to Yellow Brick Road tour was sitting here in our garage for 2 years, and it just left. And imagine showing folks like Elton John and his crew the Flow Rider avatar, and explaining that you want to create the same thing with Elton. We got to do that here. But that moment you sit down at an Elton John show and he looks at you right in the eye, because you're second row, and the whole crew knows what you paid for that ticket. So they're putting you up on the video wall and so forth. And you end up remembering that show so much more than up in the nosebleeds. Like when I saw U2's Europa, I don't remember anything. I was just coming out of college at Penn State, and I was drinking my face off. Couldn't even tell you the set list, right? But those shows I was front row or sixth row, front and center, I could tell you everything about it. That's really what this tech is going to be able to capture, and then manipulate it in a way to where we're going to be able to do a version of Sammy 36 years ago. Crazy. Head explodes.
No, I can only imagine, because he's still young at heart, but we all naturally age, and to bring us back to that young Sammy who had the fire in his eyes and one day dreamed to be doing what he's doing, this many years later, is so exciting. Now I know you can't speak on a lot of what hasn't been released or hasn't been announced yet, and all that, but what advice do you have to those from the traditional music or video business that they need to start looking at and be prepared for?
Yeah, great question, Jay. Great. That's a thing. You look at guys like Sammy that allow himself and his brand, wearing his heart on his sleeve, and allowing me and Tom allowing me to do these things with his brand to kind of reinvent himself, just like artists like Aerosmith, the artists that are still here, sounding still relevant. If you listen to these 4 songs that we cut the videos for here, actually, if you listen to all the songs on the album Crazy Times, they're all hits. It's one of those truly, concept albums, if you will, that has a banger as every single song, right? No surprise to the lineup of what they have. But it's guys that really recognize a new technology and have allowed their catalog and IP to be manipulated in a way to try these new things. So first of all, I want to say that I'm thankful for that opportunity to be a pioneer and a mover and a shaker to do that stuff. But then you also have the depression moments where you don't sleep for a week and a half and you're like, what the hell did I agree to? Producing a music video for Sammy Hagar, and is he going to even like it? And so going to answer your question of my advice to folks getting into the industry is just figure it out. you can literally do anything you want if you set your goal to it and surround yourself with people that are superior in our authorities in the space. I had no idea how to produce a music video. I just knew I had to get Sammy Hagar here. I had to pay for all of it because he's not gonna, he doesn't even understand what Web3 is yet. So whatever you need him to do, you have to explain it to Tom Consolo first, and then if you offer to pay for it, well then yeah, of course we'll try it and check it out. They're not, they're businessmen, right? So I knew if I could do that, I'd gain their trust, and if I could generate revenue for them, I'd have their trust. So my first advice would be going deep on trying to take a traditional model and streamlining it somehow. Sammy and Van Halen and Sammy and Montrose, all of these artists have been around forever. He's still alive, thank God. And I used my communication and contact into the camp to make his product better with the ad agency tools. I started with that. That's really the secret, is I started with the back end of, really ready for rocket science, the back end of Facebook and Instagram, a thing called Ads Manager and Business Manager and the Events Manager that has a pixel on it, right? I built my entire company around that. And if I can show them that you sold 60 bottles of Santo tequila because of $30 worth of an ad, you'll throttle up that ROI all day long. So a lot of it's based around e-commerce tracking and in those platforms. So that would be my advice to folks getting started in marketing, would be wrap all of your head around, pull all of your tools. This is ready. This is dramatic, but pull all of your tools from Google and search engine marketing, unless you really understand frequency and the conversion time length path. And double down in Facebook and Instagram and building a funnel, a true top of funnel, mid funnel engagement, and conversion funnel at the bottom. That's the first thing as advice. And then advice to music video makers and so forth is Web3. Web3 in the blockchain is getting ready to come and change the music industry, the real estate industry. It's already doing it, right? The finance industry, fintech, and so forth, to think of ways that I can be a part of that Web3 evolution. Virtual Talking Machine Company, the record deal that we signed with Sammy Hagar has nothing to do with the record deal in the same songs. That audio, that's owned by Universal Records. He cut a deal on Crazy Times, the audio version of that record, with the record label. And what I did with Virtual Talking Machine Company for the first time ever is I created a model that if Sammy came here and played a private show for me, I would generate enough money to pay for all of our production we would need for these 4 videos. And it would thus allow you to own your own video asset for the first time ever. So usually the record label owns the video asset and they use it to tour down the road and increase the familiarity metric, and it sells more tickets and puts more butts in the seats, and the album plays more and so forth. The 5th video is awesome, right? So you can have that as well, but now you're going to be able to have the blockchain and metaverse assets on top of that, that grow legs beyond that. So we're excited to show you guys and to show the world what Father Time. It's already, I think there's already talks. I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag early. I have no idea, but I may say things like I think that may be up for a Grammy. It's produced. I mean, if you look at who made the soup, it's a Grammy award-winning soup, and the sound, the guys, Michael Anthony and Sam. Michael Anthony, in my opinion, has the best voice in all of rock and roll. And putting him in a big loud room at the RCA studio in Music Row in Nashville, and cutting a record with the guy that just took Stapleton to new Ariel, David Cobb, it's amazing. So I'm excited for you guys to see it, and I'm excited for you guys to see the music video beyond it.
Yeah, I mean, just that there, you're talking about old school audio. You're talking about an historic RCA studio in Nashville, Dave Cobb doing it analog. And then you're talking about the highest of techs. You're combining, lo-fi and hi-fi and
very cool.
That warm original sound. Yeah.
That's a great hook, man. I never, and that's really what you're describing is the sleekness of Tom Consolo. the magic behind artists like Sammy Hagar, and not just Sammy, but Ario Speedwagon. The reason I still look at Kevin Cronin at like he's a dude, and he's a folk singer, but he's still a dude in rock and roll. And same with Pat Benatar and Neil and so forth. It really comes down to if you met Tom Consolo, the Wizard of Oz behind that entire cloak, he's a dude. So it was him knowing that he said, and he'll tell Ryan, you could verify this. Tom says things on calls like, I want to be at the cutting edge of technology. I want all of my artists to be perceived and to know about the latest and greatest things. And we want to take our crack at bat with that. So they're not afraid to put their finger on the pulse of some of the newest tech. And to be able to, like you said, that's a great hook, Jay, to be able to combine the lo-fi with the hi-fi. Super cool. So a great hook I never thought of.
Yeah, please join in, Ryan. Talk about what's so excited that you've accomplished so far with this.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Jay. It's amazing. I love these calls. I love these conversations, and we have so many conversations with so many different types of people. We're in boardrooms. We're talking to CEOs. We're talking to executives. We're talking to business owners. We're talking to artists, managers. Like, we're talking to tech guys, directors and producers and editors. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But it's just to kind of hear a comprehensive view. It's so amazing, the different things we're doing. And there's one thing I want to say, actually. There's another piece to Chris. As you probably gathered, he is a musician at heart, and he actually has a past as a musician with the Pop-Tart Monkeys. And I don't know if it's amazing to learn all these parts of Chris, these versions, and that's another very, very interesting version of his life.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I'll even talk about it, but I got to learn how to talk about it. It's a former part of my life. I have 5
Sorry to put you on the spot there. You never talk about
That's all right.
this.
I like that. I think business happens at the edge of being, a little bit uncomfortable. So here we go. Here's some business. So we put out 5 albums. We were with Warner Music Group, Steve Corbin, and I basically was farted through a keg of nails called the music industry. As a touring musician, we played 12 years straight, 280 shows a year, the Warp Tour, and yada, 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 yada. So that was fun. And what that did is it really helped me thank you for bringing it up, Ryan. It helped me cut my teeth behind the scene when the entire music industry was changing. Working with guys like Sammy, I get to not work with guys like Sammy and Michael Anthony and Vic Johnson and Jason Bonham. Like, by the way, Jason Bonham says, Chris, this reminds me of when my dad would cut an album. He and Jimmy would close down all of the companies within a 2-mile radius of the studio. And this is great. We're in Lidditz, right? But anyway, going back into the Pop-Tart Monkeys gave me that experience to cut my teeth and to see how record labels were changing. How, Steve Corbin was coming out of retirement. A legend at Motown was coming out of retirement to respin albums at Warner to try and make their catalog shiny, and wondering why this was happening, and seeing tech like, the iTunes and all the, that whole trajectory really level the whole playing field of the music industry. Same thing with Pro Tools coming at the same time on the back end, and really understanding how it's going to change. So going into your earlier question of advice to youngsters is Web3, and how is the Web3 and programs like Unreal Engine 5, UE5. If your kids don't know what UE5 and Roblox are and platforms, they know what Fortnite is, right? That's the big one, but it's built on platforms like UE5 and with programs like that. So our agency, even our ad agency that does some of the biggest brands in the world, we're looking for artists on the UE5 engine to create 3D things. So anyway, going back to Pop-Tart Monkeys, I lived on the bus with Five Finger Death Punch for years. Jason Hook right next to me, one of the best guitar players in the world, living in his bunk, like right there. And he would grab his guitar and pull it out under his bunk some days and just grab the guitar. And as a guitar player with touring experience and 5 albums under my belt that you can ask Alexa to play at any time, that I always swallowed that ego. I never even told any of the artists or management that I have this past. And it just came up recently because we created a retreat for Kellogg's. Funny story, and then I shut up. We created a retreat for Kellogg's because we own an ad agency, so we do their marketing and social media, and we brought them here. And I'm able to do fun like Spinal Tap things, Jay, like where I had, Motley Crue's here at the same time building their show and staying in the same hotel, and we have all of our runner vehicles lined up out front. And so I'm able to create moments as a producer. I love this, especially lightning in a bottle, completely organic moments where the execs from Kellogg's came out of the hotel and got into the runner vehicles for Motley Crue. And Motley Crue was like, "Who are you?" And they were like, "We're Kellogg's." So anyway, I like to create moments like that here. And when they end up finding out about the music history, it's fun. It's a fun little thing. So thanks for bringing it up, Ryan.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's I was involved with the Warped Tour for 20 years. It created so many greats, and I always say a lot more people started the Warped Tour than finished the Warped Tour. It was a a study in perseverance and
social experiment,
yeah,
perseverance.
how to pace yourself. And nothing's more brutal than being out in the middle of the summer, in the middle of the day, with no shade,
or a racetrack somewhere in Jacksonville.
Yep. And no set time until that morning. You know what I mean? Eight
Viva
stages,
Kevin
80
Lyman.
bands. Yeah.
Right? How about it? Yeah, really hats off to Kevin for creating being one of the earliest, right? Yeah, if you could make it through, you're right, Jay. You get it then. If that's your description of Warped Tour, then you've been on Warped.
And he ended at the right time. You could only imagine him trying to get through the pandemic with what he was doing. But now it's time for next chapters. Like you say, some of these bands can, tour in your home without leaving their home. It's exciting to think, you don't want anything less than a great show, but I know there's just so many angles and avenues you guys are working on. It's super exciting. So I know the Pump It Up video is probably the next one coming up. Sammy drops the album into September, and then you probably with Father Time being the fourth one, there's one more in there. But gosh, we can't wait to see what else is coming. And I could only imagine being a fly on the wall with all these meetings you're having, and the people are scratching their brain like, God, we don't know what they're talking about, but why not? Let's try it. We'd be
That's funny, Jay.
fools to be the last one on board.
It's funny you said that just happened, Ryan. Who if you get good at selling tequila for Sammy and then you produce videos for him and so forth, you catch the attention of some camps. Every one of these camps, it's all together. It's all the same people really behind the scenes. But Ryan, tell them who got in their car and drove to see us the other day.
Well, we've been working with a company now. They came to see us about 2 months ago or so. It's Rick Nielsen's camp in Rockin' Vodka. They hopped in their car, they drove out to Pennsylvania, and that's kind of what prompted Andy, the owner of the company, to come. Was basically, he said, I kind of had no idea what Chris was talking about, but he's also teaching me things that I've never learned before. And this is a restaurateur in the Chicago area, owns several businesses and restaurants, and is actually a marketing genius himself. So for Chris to be able to show and teach him something that he had not learned before was a huge piece. And they hopped in their car and they drove 12 hours out here, and we've been coaching them up ever since.
So I think we might be doing, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, and I'm not going to jinx it. But I'll just say it like this. We caught the attention of Cheap Trick Camp. They wanted to know exactly how we did it and what we did. And then others as well. We're planning on doing this again and again and again. And now that we have the record label set up. So yeah, we're excited. And the record label goes hand in hand with the ad agency, which is exactly what you need, is a built-in audience. And a lot of these artists have no idea how to create that on their own. And we're getting pretty good at it here in little old Lidditz, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I looked it up on the map. I see it right there, just north of Lancaster. And
come on down. Come on over.
I will.
Okay. Where are you coming to from today?
I'm right here in Burbank, California, Studio City.
wow. So I've been saying things, and you're not allowed to, you can't hate me for this, but I've been saying things that Lidditz is the new Burbank. And Ryan can attest to that. And I say that for good reason, because Burbank's where I flew into for the Dio stuff, for Sammy's party, to go to the ferry, and to look at all of the places that have rolled up shop. And really, a lot of those same vendors have come here to Lidditz, like Bob Bradshaw, another West Coast brat that is the mad scientist behind all the guitar rigs, like for Mick Mars, and he has a shop here for custom audio electronics. So, and there's many more. So when you bring Michael Anthony from the West Coast and say, "Hey, Mr. Anthony, hey, Mr. Hagar, would you like to spend some money here at the the shopping mall, the backstage of the world?" And they find out that when I put them back in the Escalade to go back to their show, they said things like, "Bob Bradshaw's here," and you hear the chatter, and you're like, "Oh my God, they're talking about another scientist that they've worked with Motley Crue many times, and they know." And so Mick Mars was here with Motley Crue at the same. So they had these little lightning in a bottle moments at the backstage of the world. So you're invited, Jay, yourself, your team, come on out from Burbank. I'll put you up at the Hotel Rock Lidditz, and they will rock you to sleep.
Well, I definitely plan on it. You guys have spurred so many ideas in my head. Being an idea person myself, and being so deep into music and artist development, the business development is the next step. And you guys obviously are light years, ahead of most, but you make it tangible. You bring these, like I say, these traditional artists into a world comfortably, where they don't have to risk everything. You're not giving up all your rights. We're talking about some ancillary rights that are outside of what you're doing traditionally. But yeah, no, it's got to be frightening to think of what you guys are going to be doing in 5 years.
It's all, I think in the next 3 years, Jay, I say it like this. You ready? This is the math. In the next 3 years, we're going to take the same leap as we did in the last 150. And if you're understanding that math and that trajectory, then you won't be surprised by the tech and everything we're able to do. So I'm, like I said, you have to come here, check out what we're doing. You're invited. You have an open invite anytime you're on the East Coast, and want to check it out. But I'm excited to be alive. And you're right. What is the next 5 years going to look like? I'm telling artists like Sammy that you're going to stay home. Your scalability is going to increase, because now I have two of you. Imagine just scalability. If I can have a whole nother version of you, a digital human, and that digital human can also tour, like ABBA is doing right now, which is a great example of how to use volumetric tech. Then stay at home on the couch, and I'm still going to sell out theaters and small seated arenas with a live band throughout the world. So just right there, from a touring logistics standpoint, the way that this tech is going to flop, live shows and live entertainment is never going to go away, but it's going to adapt and evolve in a way that we're going to look back at this as kind of the broke era, if you will.
Wow, truly exciting. We can't wait to see the other videos. Crazy Times is amazing. I already know there's elements in there that we haven't even experienced yet. And Sammy out on the road. This is the future right here.
Really?
So yeah, from Media Twist to the virtual talking record label. You guys are certainly turning heads, and we're listening from Burbank and Studio City to the world. It is truly an honor to make this introduction, and I can't wait till the next step. Thank you so much for joining us. Our special guest, of course, is Chris Kurtz. He is the co-founder and marketing genius, the media innovator of not only the Media Twist Group, but now the great VTMC, Virtual Talking Record Label, and his right-hand man, Ryan. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to be in your presence and come out soon. And again, this is only the beginning. Much more to come.
Jay, thanks for taking the time and doing this. We're honored to have this bandwidth with you. And again, you're invited anytime you want. As they say on the license plates, you've got a friend in Pennsylvania. Thank you.